welcome to TalkFCB and welcome back here to the channel, guys. Once again, this right here is a Champions League game week. We're all going to be treated this midweek to some Champions League action, and coming up today, we are going to be previewing the entire Game Week 2. That's massive. Right here and now, all 32 teams, all 16 games, it's coming right up. Coming up for you, it's the Champions League. But let's first of all kick off here by looking at the individual stats and the team stats from Game Week 1 in the Champions League. And as you can see here, on the left-hand side, it's the top scorers in the competition. Salzburg there leading by 6 goals. Dinamo Zagreb getting 4 goals there on the opening day, with Bayern, Ajax, Paris Saint-Germain, Man City and Lokomotiv Moscow there making up the top scorers. Then on to the best passers in the opening game week. That there goes to Leverkusen with 776 passes. Bayern, Man City, Barcelona and Ajax all up there as well, as you'd expect. And then on to the average possession in the opening game week. Leverkusen again dominating that with 70% possession, even though they actually lost their opening game. Bayern there with 65, and Barca going away to Dortmund, drawing 0-0 and having their 61% of the possession. But if we here look as well at the individual stats from the opening game week, you can see here on the left-hand side the top scorers, once again coming from those two teams, Dinamo Zagreb and RB Salzburg there. Orsic grabbing a hat-trick, so did young Norwegian striker Haaland. Timo Werner got 2, Di Maria got 2 as well. Onto the middle there, it's the assist. Juventus for Salzburg got 2, as did Minamino. Salzburg there racking up 6 goals in their opening game, with Juan Bernat as well grabbing 2 and Hwang. And on then to the final column, that there is the total passes in Game Week 1, with Leverkusen's Sven Bender getting 123 passes there in that opening match day, along with Tar there, his teammate. Thiago Alcantara always going to be high on that list, as well as Aaron Gies. Verratti, of course, dominating play there for Paris Saint-Germain. Jorginho running things for Chelsea, and Joshua Kimmich there, who's not only a right back, but also there does come into midfield in that Bayern side. But of course, let's get now right to the action, starting straight away with Group A, and coming up there in the early kickoff in that game, Real Madrid against Club Brugge, live from the Santiago Bernabeu, and all the times that you are going to see in these graphics are UK time. Bear that in mind. Real and Club Brugge there kicking off in the early kickoff in the Champions League on Tuesday evening. Also there in that group, Galatasaray face Paris Saint-Germain at the Türk Telekom Stadi in Turkey, and that should be a very, very interesting game there. PSG there got a massive win against Real Madrid in the opening match day, and what they've got to do now is follow that up with more wins and more consistency to try and finish here top of the group ahead of Real. And with Real at the Bernabeu there against Club Brugge, they've got it all to lose and nothing really to gain. If they beat Club Brugge, it's basically business as usual. You'd expect Real Madrid to go there and do that, but anything less at this stage, massive pressure. That would be massive pressure on Zinedine Zidane. Real have simply got to win. We move then to Group B. Tottenham against Bayern is the massive game in that group, with Crvena Zvezda against Olympiacos there, the other game in that group. But it's all there about Tottenham against Bayern, and for me, big pressure on Tottenham here. They drew in their opening game against Olympiacos. Yes, it was away from home, but when you're leading 2-0 in a Champions League game, anything other than a win there is drop points. Sevilla, drop points, especially when you're up against Bayern Munich in your group. You've got to win this game. Right here and now, if Bayern come away from home, draw with Tottenham, they will see that there as a pretty decent result. Tottenham know they've got to win. At home this season, they've been very strong. Away from them, they've really struggled. Pochettino has certainly had a few problems along the way so far at Tottenham, but Bayern coming into this game, they've been good in the Bundesliga. They're back top now, ahead of RB Leipzig, and certainly in the Champions League. They had a brilliant start there, at home. And in that other game there, Olympiacos and Crvena Zvezda, they will be going for it. They will be trying to pick up points where they can. Olympiacos were very good there in the second half against Tottenham, and they'll believe here, if they can get the win away in this game, potentially they could be on here to start causing a bit of a shock if Tottenham get beaten by Bayern. Tottenham against Bayern, that's a massive game. And now we do move on to Group C. Once again here, an early kickoff on the Tuesday evening. It's Atalanta against Shakhtar Donetsk there, which is a big game for two teams who do have aspirations of competing in this Champions League and ultimately trying to get through to the next round. In the other game there, the later kickoff, Manchester City, who won their opening game pretty comfortably away at Shakhtar Donetsk, they're going to be coming up against Dinamo Zagreb, who started phenomenally. They started so well there against Atalanta, and I'm really looking now at Atalanta to bounce back from that, because in Serie A this season, they've been so impressive. They've been really good. They always score goals. They got some phenomenal attacking players, and at home there against Shakhtar, if Atalanta can get the win, you would expect them in this group to grow in confidence, to grow in stature. They got off to a bad start, and Dinamo Zagreb have really got to go up against it there, against Man City. But certainly in this group, apart from City, who I do expect to finish comfortably top of the pile, aside from that, it is all to play for. Then we do move on to Group D. Lokomotiv Moscow will be facing Atletico Madrid at the RZD Arena, and then it's Juventus at home at the Allianz against Bayer Leverkusen, who, like I say, got off to a really bad start, even though they dominated the game. Bayer Leverkusen against Lokomotiv Moscow. They really, really did. It was actually individual errors that let them down on the day, but they're going to be up against it there, going to Juve. It's such a difficult place to go. But I will say here, Atletico Madrid got a really big point there at home against Juventus in that opening game. Because yes, it was 2-2, it was 1 point at home. You could say that was 2 points dropped. But again, 2-0 Juventus were on the day. Atletico forcing that comeback, mounting that comeback against all the odds. And a big game there away at Lokomotiv. Because in this season, so far, Atletico Madrid have been pretty good. A few times they're away from home, they have stumbled. They'll need to get the 3 points here against Lokomotiv Moscow in order to really put the pressure on Juventus, who I would expect, barring any sort of mistakes, to beat Bayer Leverkusen at home. And now we do move on to the Wednesday fixtures in the Champions League this week. We do move on, in that case, to Group E, where Genk, in the early kickoff, will be coming up against Napoli, who, of course, in that opening game week, toppled the European champions Liverpool in their own stadium. In the later kickoff there, it's Liverpool against RB Salzburg, and that one should be a really entertaining game, because Liverpool, of course, coming off the back of that defeat against Napoli, they're going to have a point to prove. And of course, any team at all going to Anfield, they're really going to be up against it. But at the same time, RB Salzburg right now, they're just riding the wave. In their opening game, scored 6 goals against Genk. At home, it was rocking. They got some fantastic young players. They got a really exciting team, and they're going to Anfield there. And you've just got to think, you know what? Whatever happens, happens. You've got to go there, have a good go, have a real effort there of trying to get some points. And if you don't, it's not the end of the world, because quite frankly, Liverpool should be winning that game. But RB Salzburg there with nothing to lose. And if Napoli can get the win away at Genk, that would really put the pressure on in this group. It would really up the stakes, because Liverpool will want to finish top. But of course, early days yet, it is still all to play for. Now, of course, we do move on to Group F. In the early kickoff, it will be Slavia Prague against Borussia Dortmund there, live from the Sinobo Stadium in Czech Republic. And later on, the big one, coming from the Camp Nou, Barcelona against Inter. And that there should be a fascinating game, because you look at the first game week, of course, Barcelona going away to Dortmund, 0-0, not the worst result in the world, especially when you consider that Dortmund in that game missed a penalty. We kind of got away with one there. And at the same time now, Inter dropped points too. They dropped points at home to Slavia Prague. That was a big draw for them. They need to hit back. They wouldn't really have come to the Camp Nou expecting something, really needing something at the start of this group stage. But after dropping points against Slavia Prague, they've got to pick those points up somewhere. They're going to come here looking for a win, looking for a draw, looking for something against Barcelona. And likewise, after drawing with Dortmund, Barca need to hit back. And in that game there, Slavia Prague against Dortmund. Dortmund, big favourites. But again, Slavia Prague, don't write them off. They proved against Inter. They can certainly compete with the big boys. They're difficult to break down. But also going forward, they can do things too. So Dortmund in that game may not win that. And that could really make this group interesting. On then now to Group G, where Zenit will face Benfica at the St. Petersburg Stadium there in Russia. And in the other game, RB Leipzig at the Red Bull Arena will face Olympic Lyon in that one. And that's going to be an exciting game, I feel, because RB Leipzig, like I said in the last video, have been really impressive so far this season. Under Nagelsmann, they're an exciting group of players. I really do like Timo Werner. 2 goals already in this tournament. Will he add to it against Olympic Lyon? They've certainly got the driving seat so far in this group. But like I say, it is very early days. Zenit, Benfica, Olympic Lyon, they're all very good teams. They've got good individual players. I think Zenit against Benfica there, Zenit at home would fancy their chances of beating Benfica. But at the same time, Benfica have got some decent attacking players. They will go forward, possibly there. I'm thinking another draw in that one could be the case. But RB Leipzig had a bad result on the weekend. They lost their place at the top of the Bundesliga. They'll be hoping to hit back against Lyon. And in that game, I would fancy them to win and move there onto 6 out of 6 points in Group G. And finally now, in Group H, the final group, on Wednesday to be in action, it's Lille against Chelsea, and that one should be very interesting, with the pressure right now on Chelsea to go away there and get a result after losing at home to Valencia in that first game. Whereas in the other kickoff there, it's Valencia against Ajax at the Mestalla, and that should be a really exciting game. I'm excited about that one, simply because Valencia sacked Marcelino. They were in turmoil. They were really bad. They went to Chelsea. They won. Somehow, they got the win. And from there, actually, they've grown in confidence. confidence. They got a good result at the weekend against Athletic Club, and certainly there, Ajax, you know what they can do. They've still got very good players. They may have lost key players in the summer, but at the same time, we saw in their opening game against Lille, it was very comfortable for them, 3-0 victory. They can still mix it. They will still expect to get out of this group, and I think their Valencia and Ajax are in pole position to actually get out of this group, but very early days. Chelsea, with a win away at Lille, they could certainly start putting the pressure back on, but if they don't win that game, if Chelsea there fail to win in their opening 2 games, and Valencia and Ajax maybe ends in a draw, suddenly then the other teams are starting to rack up the points. Valencia will hope to get out of the group. Ajax, I feel, would expect to get out of the group. That's the mentality right now at Ajax, and I think they're in really good position to do so. I think they're Valencia, Ajax, that could be a draw. Lille against Chelsea, that could be a banana skin. Could go either way, but I think Chelsea, with the young exciting talents they've got, they could get the win there. So that brings us to an end in the Champions League midweek action in Game Week 2. As always, guys, please leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Number 1, on this style of video, what do you think of it? You'd like to see more of it? Is it something that you enjoy? Let me know in the comments down below. And of course, let me know your predictions. What are you expecting to see in Game Week 2? Who's looking to impress you? Who do you think is capable of getting a big result? Let me know in the comments down below. And of course, all the build-up to Inter versus Barça. It's coming up soon. But until next time, as always, Visca El Barça.